Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. My next interview is with Lutz Gregor, who's a German director of a film called Mali Blues. Coming out of Germany, it's a documentary, and it really is, once again, it's about a lot of things, and mostly it's about music, but it's about also very much about politics and art and the line, not only that connects the two, but sort of separates the two as well. I had a wonderful time with Lutz. He's a great guy. He's a passionate man who clearly cares a great deal, not only about the work that he does, but about the people that are involved. And you really can see that when you watch this film. It's about culture. It's about music. It's about colonialism. It's about the impact of tolerance in a society, and what does it have to say about who we are and where we're heading. And so you're going to enjoy the film. I hope you can find it. Look for it, Mali Blues. It was the North American premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival this year, and the interview with Lutz is coming up. DavidPeckLive.com, rabble.ca for more podcasts, information about my book, about my speaking. You can find it there. And I hope you're going to enjoy this interview about a new documentary film called Mali Blues. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We are once again joined by another very special guest here at the Toronto International Film Festival. I have no idea what number this interview is for me, but it's a lot. Lutz Gregor is here with me today to talk about his new film, Mali Blues. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Hey.
Thank you for joining me today. Are you exhausted, I guess is the first question.
Not really. I'm still in jet lag a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So to this afternoon I feel a little bit tired.
It's starting
because I just arrived 2 days ago, but it's fine. Yeah.
Oh. And the film has premiered?
No, the screening will be tonight.
Okay.
And then there's another screening tomorrow.
And how are you feeling about that? Is it anticipation? Is it excitement? Is it fear?
It's not fear, but it's a big honor to be here in Toronto.
Yes.
So the film has been already to several international festivals, but
this is the North American premiere.
Yes. Yeah. So Toronto is, of course, the biggest festival, and let's say I'm excited, and there will be talks and
press and Q&A.
Yeah. People like you.
Any special performances tonight? Any music? Any live music at
the
screening?
No. We did it when we had the premiere in Germany. We had live music, and there was Fatoumata Diawara coming to Munich, but this time it was not possible, and it's quite difficult as well, expensive bringing people from Mali to Canada. Yeah.
So this is clearly a musical film. It's in a way it's a concert film almost.
I think so.
But I think for me it's way more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's an introduction for me into Mali's music and into the scene and so on. Kind of interesting and ironic that we're sitting in a bar here in Toronto, covered with records, and I walked in and there's a sticker on the door that says "Support your local musician."
Yes.
You know. Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking up there. I see an Alice in Chains poster. So I think it's really appropriate, actually. Is this a film about music, or is this a political film, Lutz?
It's both. Of course, it's both.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course it is.
It's about the landscape, it's about Mali, it's about the people, it's about Fatoumata Diawara and all the others, and it's about the music. So I think what is special in the film is a mix, and this is something I liked a lot. We are touching very political issues, like the occupation of the north by Islamists in Mali in 2012, and we are talking about this on a political level, but we talk about it with the music, with the characters, with the life stories of these people.
Right.
It's not about making headlines. Yeah.
Right. right. I mean, as with any good documentary, it's about way more than what's on the screen.
Yeah.
There's so much more going on than meets the eye. When you started filming, did you have, as a documentarian, as a filmmaker, did you have a sense for where you were going to go, or did you wind up in an entirely different place?
I mean, I just said to somebody, of course this film is made by a white person, somebody from Europe, and you have this kind of look
Lens.
To Africa,
Sure.
and every time you're totally confused. Yeah, every time you have to learn something. You have to things don't work the same way as we do. People are different. People are thinking in a different way, and you have to adapt to this. And you have your own how do you say, prejudice.
Of course, prejudice
Yeah.
or worldview.
Yeah,
I guess.
and Africa doesn't work in the same way we do, and you
That's
complain
right,
about
yes.
it,
That's
and
right.
you have to relax and go back, and you feel your own, how you say, colonialist attitudes.
Sure.
Of
yeah.
course, yeah.
Of course.
And every
and
image,
you
every,
can't get away from them. Right?
no,
in
but
in a
there are
sense.
people touching you like this and say, okay, think about it. Look here, yeah.
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
you think about what is the frame we are doing in a literary sense, but all as well in a more general sense. So what is the image we want to create from Africa? And this was interesting. And this was changing all the time. It was a process. It was, of course, you come with your images to Africa and you want to recreate your images. And that doesn't work. And this is interesting. So it was a real kind of communication, interaction. It was very chaotic.
Did you find it hard to immerse yourself into the culture? I mean, to cross cultures in a sense?
No, not really, not really. What is culture? I mean, it's first, of course, it's the people. And to communicate with the people, there's, especially in Mali, they're so heartful, they're so warm, yeah? And they're so physical, they always
Yes,
touch you
always
and so
touching, that's right.
embrace you, and it's so easy to talk to them. You can read the faces,
Nice.
it's not, they're not hidden behind some rules or something. It's very open and direct, yeah? Sometimes it doesn't work and you don't understand why it doesn't work. But no, this was very, very easy. To communicate was easy.
One of the metaphors that, I mean, the colors. I mean, how can you not get away from African colors, it seems, right?
Yeah,
They're just, it's just so vibrant, and I don't know if it's particular to Mali. I've certainly traveled to a few.
Yeah.
It seems to be a part of sort of African
Right,
culture.
well, yeah.
To a large degree.
Yeah,
really rich and vibrant and kind of almost in your face, right? Almost loud in a way, right?
The red, for example.
Yes, really
The
rich
streets,
and deep.
Yeah.
Metaphor for the culture for you? Symbol to, in some way?
I mean, for example, we went to the music life in Bamako, in the capital. It's incredible. It's like here in Toronto, I can imagine, whatever. You go from one club to the other.
Right.
It's outside,
Right,
and there
right.
you have so many different colors of music, and they're all playing together. And this musician is going to the set of this other group, and then they're going together somewhere else. And there's some clubs which are not gay, but they are very different people. Yeah, you
Right.
wouldn't expect there. So everything is there, and it was surprising for us. You thought, oh, it's more traditional, something like that. It wasn't at all. It's very modern and very, as you said, very rich.
Do you think musicians? I think this comes out in the film in a variety of ways, actually. So you follow three musicians essentially.
Four.
I mean, we meet four. Sorry,
Yeah.
and we meet others along
Yeah,
the way.
yeah.
We meet spiritual leaders and we meet locals. And there's some really wonderful. I mean, there is one beautiful tracking shot. I think you shoot from the river, maybe, and there's a song playing, and I don't even think it's subtitled at that point. We're just watching. People watching you, the faces, and it's really marvelous, really clear.
Thanks.
My favorite moment in the film, it really is.
Mine too.
Yours too.
Yes,
Nice.
yes.
Nice. Is art's purpose in Mali and everywhere? Let's make it a global question, to disrupt. I mean, is that essentially what's going on? I mean, I was amazed at the rapper's lyrics. Explain your Islam to
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, talk about it in your face, right? So, where do you sit on that? Art's, that Socratic gadfly, the fly in the ointment, disrupting and irritating and slowly, creating change on a variety of levels.
I mean, it's very hard to talk about it in general. Can art change the world?
Right. Sounds so grandiose.
Yes,
right?
and we would love both to say yes, it does. Yeah, of course we does. We want, And I have some doubts. For example, somebody was asking me, do you think your film might change the attitude, the negative attitude in Europe towards African people? I said, yes, it can, but these people who are negative about Africans, refugees coming now to Germany, they don't watch the film. So the people who are watching the film are already in a positive attitude towards these people.
Right, it's like preaching to the converted, right?
Right, that's it, that's the word. So, and with the music, it's very complex. I think, for example, Master Sumi, he is able to gather 15,000 people in a stadium and sing to them, talking to them. And he is loved, he is famous. Yeah?
Right.
And when he says something, it can be even dangerous for the politicians.
Wow. Right,
and
because
he's
such a celebrity. He has so much pull, as it were.
And even he told me once that there was a police stopping him in the car at night because they want a little bit of money.
Yeah, of course.
And they say, oh, Master Sumi, okay, go. And that's the way it is. So his music does something. What it does is that some people, one of the mighty people in power, are afraid of him. Yeah? And he is expressing the thoughts and the feelings of lots of people. You see people playing his music, singing his lyrics. They know this music, yeah? And he's expressing what they think. So he calls himself the advocate de la rue. Yeah? He's the lawyer of the poor, yeah, of the street.
Nice.
And I think this is true. That's all our experience was that he's the one. Yeah?
And did you get the sense that, I mean, clearly it comes out that the conflict in northern Mali had an impact, the Islamic sort of edge. You have a religious scholar or thinker talking about how music is not banned in the Quran, and it's to be celebrated.
It's very important.
Really important.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of that they've regained their freedom to perform, to create, to celebrate? Is it pretty open culturally, politically? Would you say?
I mean, it's very complex. Mali traditionally, they have a very how can I say tolerant version of Islam, which is connected to Sufism. So and there's an African tradition which comes from animism. Yeah? So they are not like in Arabic countries so strict. They are more softer. Yeah? Second, music was always a big part in everyday life. Not all, but you see small kids, 5 years old, drumming like masters. Yeah? The women are singing in the houses, in the during the weddings. There are the griot coming to sing. Yeah, so there's in everyday life it's part
of the language.
It's part of the language. It's part of the breath. They are breathing the music.
Sure.
Yeah? And this was so the Islamists when they occupied the north and they were. And music was forbidden, music and dance and sports and everything. Yeah, they thought they could oppress this heartbeat, and of course, at the end, they couldn't, and it continued. And sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just about the.
Oh, sorry, you don't cut.
No.
oh,
that's
sorry.
Okay. No, I just ran to the washroom and came back. There was enough time there. Yeah,
yes.
We're good. No, we're good. Yeah, we're all good.
Oh, good.
That's what makes it, live and interesting.
Yes. Okay. No, but I think I answered the question. Didn't I?
Yeah. No, I think you did. I think the sense of what was the line? Yeah, they couldn't oppress the heartbeat.
Yeah.
I think that's what. I mean,
sorry. Now I got it. You asked how's the situation at the moment. There was a time from March 2012 till January 2013, 10 months, where the jihadist different groups occupied the north. At that time, it was forbidden and banned. When the French especially liberated the north and they tried to establish a kind of peace zone, yeah, which is controlled by MINUSMA, United Nations troops at the moment, now there's no ban anymore. Yeah? So they could go back to play music, but they don't, because there's no way to earn money with music. Yeah? You have to be very precise. You're allowed to do music in Mali. Yeah? This situation where it was banned doesn't exist anymore. But most of the musicians are living abroad, or they're living in the capital, because at least there are small possibilities
of making a living.
Challenge
of any artist anywhere. Yeah. Didn't Ahmed talk about them burning his guitars and wanting to cut his fingers off? I mean, for a period of time, it must have been
10 months.
Pretty serious.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do you think all great art comes out of tension and violence and disconnection? How's that? Yeah.
I think happiness is, how do you say, contraproductive. It's not very productive for art.
Right.
If you're happy,
contraproductive.
Why should you do anything?
That's right.
You're just happy. You're living your life and everything is fine.
That's right. That's right.
So I think the art needs something you want to change. Yeah?
Right.
It needs something you are suffering about. Yeah. Something you want to address to other people, and to communicate with these other people, to gather around the art, around the music. So it's
the idea of building community and gathering around it is wonderful. It's a lovely notion. 300 ethnicities, right?
Yes.
300 cultures essentially, and then somebody on film says, and each one of them has their own sort of way of doing things.
Yes.
How? Never mind globally. How does one country? I mean, you must have learned a great deal about Malians and the culture and so on in a short period of time. But what's your sense? How do you find common ground?
The problem is I don't
Maybe
understand.
It's not there.
It's very complex. You touched the point. I don't understand the local languages. The main language is in the south.
I didn't even think of the language.
Bambara. Yeah. But most of them, they are speaking French, so with more educated people who went to school, you talk in French and you can communicate. But sometimes they are communicating between each other in languages I don't understand. And I'm asking, Ahmed, did you speak Tamashek, the Tuareg language, to this person, or was it Bambara? And he's laughing. I said, yeah, a little bit like this. And this was Songhai, wasn't it? Yeah, with him I speak Songhai, but you are Tamashek. Yes, but we know Songhai as well. So what you feel is, just imagine we are sitting here, we are speaking French, Italian, German, and English all together.
All mixed together, yeah.
And which is incredible. And then you feel, it's possible. In Berlin, no German person normally speaks Turkish. There's so many Turkish people. Of course, they speak German sometimes, yeah. But you don't mix in a sense. They are much more. All the ethnies are mixed, yeah, and which there exists a kind of living together, clearly, but there are lots of problems. For example, the Tuareg from the north are white-skinned, what they call white. They look like Arabs, which is not totally white, but for the Bambara in the south, they are white. And there's a traditional racism.
Internal
between,
racism. Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, Lutz, because before I started traveling, I always thought racism meant white, black, black, white. Yeah. Right? Just because of the culture that
the Tuareg had slaves, black slaves.
When you go to another country, you go, oh wow, they're actually racist against others within their own country.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Southeast Asia. It's a global, it's a human problem. I'm so glad you included the line, musicians forgive. It's part of our job.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? And if it's true, what do musicians know that maybe you and I don't? I think it's a wonderful line. There's something.
I think a musician...
The melody of forgiveness.
The melody of forgiveness. Musicians, much more than, for example, a writer or a painter, need to communicate. They need public. They need people around, listening, They are talking, and they need somebody to listen. So if I say to the public, I hate you, it doesn't work. So I think it's part of the soul of a musician that you want to be understood. And that you need to understand the people you are playing for. And this is the base of communicating through music. And I think that's what they do. And even Master Sumi, he's a rapper. In America, rappers, I just, by chance, I read an article about Tupac this morning, because I think he's dead for 20 years or something. And this kind of American rap kind of living, where you attack each other verbally with the music, and at the end you kill each other. Yeah. For them in Africa, it's totally weird. You understand? Because they think, because don't they have any problems? We have so many problems. We have to fight together. Yeah. We have to address our solutions, our proposals. Yeah. Our words to the people. And so we have that we can do something together to change the world. But you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, yeah. Tell me, a couple more questions. We'll wrap it up here in a second or two. How much does religion play into this? I mean, I know it's a massive question, as most of, as you said, these are all complex issues. They're not, I mean, 300 ethnicities, for heaven's sakes. The languages, the worldviews.
I mean, 95% in Mali are Muslim. Yeah? Of course, there are still ethnies which have a more traditional background, animism, like in the Dogon. Yeah? But as well there, Islam is conquering big parts of the country. So mainly it's at the moment 95%. There was one, just to tell you the story, for example, Master Sumi, and he's doing this song and the clip we did with him, Explique ton Islam, explain your Islam.
Yes.
He was attacking the Islamist from a point of view of a Muslim.
But the lyrics are great. I mean, I can't believe actually he wrote the song and then published it.
And he was attacked for this.
I bet he was. Yeah. Pretty gutsy.
And then he said, I said, but Sumi, I didn't know you're a believer. I said, yeah, of course I am. Yeah. And you go to the mosque on Friday? Yes, I do. And I said, okay, let's do it. Yeah. And that was the reason we went to the mosque for the Friday prayer, and he was praying there, and it was not fake. Yeah. So he was really, as a believer, and that was a reason to write the song, because there are people coming and saying, in this name of Islam, we are doing all this kind of violence that they were doing. And said, no, it's not in the name of Islam. It's not part of it. And that was the reason. Second, we were talking to the Imam, and I asked him, is the Prophet, does he love music?
Right.
And he was laughing and said, of course he loves music. And he was quoting Suren, lines in the Quran, where it said that the Prophet gave his turban to the musician. So he acknowledged that what he's studying.
Doesn't he go on to say, music's purpose is to heal and it's to celebrate?
Yes, that's what he says.
I mean, there's so many implications of the few things that he said, and he says it with authority, right?
Yeah.
And wisdom.
That's what was the reason we wanted to have him. He is there two big high imams in Mali, in Bamako, and he's the one, and the other one he goes a more fundamentalist direction. Right. But we wanted Haidara to talk about it.
Well, it seems to me, your film is. I think your film will help to build bridges. I really do. I mean, I think music to the Imam's point, it builds bridges. It's about community, and it's about healing and reconciliation and all those things. And for me, the film was. Can I say that the film was like a poem or a love letter, not only to music but to Malians itself? That's how it felt to me. Lutz.
No, you're right. That's the feeling I had myself. After watching the film as well. I mean, I had times of trouble when we were editing. It was very hard to edit this film. We had so beautiful material of each of the four protagonists of the musicians that we had to cut and cut and cut. It was like, harakiri. And at the end, we had a little screening in Bamako for the crew, for the local crew, and some invited guests and the musicians. And one, Salif Traoré, a Malian director, old one, said the film looks like it was made by an African.
That's a huge compliment, I would say.
It was a colleague, and he was criticizing the film, this and this and it doesn't work. But in general, he said, it looks like there's somebody who understands our culture.
Yes.
And you don't step into the cliche about Africa like lots of African directors do themselves.
Yeah.
So it was the best thing I could...
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's marvelous. Well, listen, congratulations on a beautiful film. And Mali Blues, Lutz, Gregor are here for the North American premiere of Mali Blues tonight. September, what's the date? I don't even
13th.
know anymore. September 13th at the Toronto International Film Festival. Congratulations again. And thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.